Regression Examples 1 and 2. In these first two examples, we're looking at the terminology involved in correlation. If you look back at the correlation booklet, we had 4 words that represented the 2 different types of variables that we might get when we're looking at bivariate data. So in the first one here, we've got an independent or explanatory variable. That tends to be the one that you would put on the x-axis. So independent or explanatory. The response variable or the dependent variable is the one that you would tend to put on the y-axis. So if we look at the first example, a researcher is looking at the effects of sleep deprivation on physical coordination. So just have a think about that for a second. If you were deprived of sleep for a long period of time, what would happen to your physical coordination? So the researcher is going to select 25 students and he's going to deprive them of sleep for either 24 or 36 or 45 hours. And we've got to decide which variable is which. So if you think about where you would put them on the axes, you've got to think about which one would cause the other one to happen. So would sleep deprivation affect physical coordination, or would physical coordination affect sleep deprivation? Well, hopefully you can spot that the independent variable, the one we would put on the x-axis, is sleep deprivation. The reason for that is because that is the one that we can control. We're doing an experiment, and we would expect that if you deprive someone of sleep for a long period of time, their physical coordination would be reduced. The dependent variable would in this case be physical coordination, because that is the one that responds to the sleep deprivation. So when you're doing an experiment, the thing you can control tends to go on the x-axis, and what happens next goes on the y-axis. So that's the first example. If we scroll down to the second one, we've got a study of different quantities of fertiliser and how they influence plant growth. So an experimenter measures the growth in height of a number of plants 2 weeks after they've been given different quantities of fertiliser. So which one affects which one? Well, hopefully you can spot that if you give a plant a different amount of fertiliser, that would affect how much it grows by. So the explanatory variable, that's the one that goes on the x-axis. Explanatory is the quantity of fertiliser. That's the one we can control. And then the response is the growth in height. So if you give it more fertiliser, it will grow more, probably up to a certain point, at which point you would perhaps given it too much fertiliser, and then maybe that would affect its growth again. So make sure you're aware of which axis you will put the 2 variables on.